Would you like to become a fascinating personality, break free from plateaus, and gain power over your mental resources and your full potential? You came to the right place. Welcome to a magical journey to yourself. This show is made in Germany. If you like the show, please subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, or puremindmagic.club. Welcome to Season 1, Shaping Your Reality. And here is your host, international magician, speaker, and book author, Victoria Mavis.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Halloween special at Pure Mind Magic. This episode is all about fear and why fear sometimes protects us and other times can block us from living our dreams. My guest, Margee Kerr, teaches at university, studies fear and behavior, and she knows everything about haunted houses because she loved them already as a kid. So this will be a really interesting episode that deals with our fears. And before we dive into the interview, this episode is brought to you by my business mentor, Ron G. Holland. Ron really is the absolute expert when it comes to mind power and how you can resolve your mental blockages and really get ahead, especially when it comes to money, because they call him the millionaire maker. He has helped several people to turn millionaire with his mind power skills and all the mental techniques he uses. And now you have access to that too, because he created an amazing video course teaching you everything he knows about how our mind and brain works and how you can cooperate with both hemispheres to really get the results you want and create your own payday in what area of your life you like. So there will be the link for this amazing course directly in the show notes. Check it out and you won't regret it. It's just astonishing, I would say, as a magician. So now back to the fears, back to Halloween, and here is for you on the show from Philadelphia, Margee Kerr. Hi Margee, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me on.
I'm happy that you are joining me today for this Halloween special. And to give the listeners a good impression, can you tell them who you are and what you are doing?
Sure. My name is Margee Kerr, and I'm a sociologist and author of the book Scream, Chilling Adventures in the Science of Fear. And actually, my colleague and I just published a paper that was based on data that we collected for 2 years in a haunted attraction. So trying to find out why people like to be scared and what they're getting out of it.
Very interesting. So can you share with us a few cues why people like it to be scared?
Yeah, so we found that mood does improve. It works almost like an in-the-moment mood booster. That people come in and they report, maybe like a 5 on a scale of 1 to 10, and they leave at an 8. And so that's one factor. And other negative affect states go down. So people feel less tired, less anxious, less frustrated, less numb. And these changes are all associated to feeling like you challenged yourself and learned about your fears. And the scarier, the better. The more thrilling, scary, and intense, the bigger the increase in mood. So we think it's acting, a lot like a going to a surprise party or running a 5K or doing anything where there's a lot of excitement, but also a bit of personal challenge.
Very interesting, Margee. So you would say, in other words, that horror and being scared can act a little bit like a therapy?
In the right context, yeah. So if you are, somebody who, like me, I often get very stuck in my head. I'm just thinking and cycling through thoughts. Doing something like this, it grounds you in the moment. It really forces you to be present in the here and now, and aware of your body and feeling, strong and powerful. So and that's what we saw with the analysis of the EEG data, the brainwave activity, that people are not getting caught up in their mind, and that can feel good, to feel just really in your body.
I see. So, from your studies, what would you say? What are people most afraid of?
Well, I always tell designers that it's all about balance, and to think of it more like creating an emotional symphony, rather than just, something that is scary for, 2 hours or half an hour. Because the way that fear works is that it's really it's a violation of our predictions of what we think we're going to encounter. And so if you can, take somebody from, for example, a really, really dark room, and they go out into the broad daylight, the sunlight experienced as very intense, very bright, as opposed to going from like a retail store of fluorescent lights into the daylight. So we're always, our experience is always a measure of range, of that difference between, where we were and our expectations, and then where we are. So to design really scary experiences, you always have to be playing with those extremes of taking somebody from, something that maybe was 30 seconds of laughter or absurdity, to then something that is very dark and macabre and, blood and guts. So it's trying to make that difference even bigger, to land a really good scare. And even though a lot of designers say that the startle scares are kind of the easy ones, they really are helpful in getting just our sympathetic nervous system going. Things like a loud bang or a loud air cannon, they may not be psychologically scary, but they still activate our body and sensitize us to the more psychological scares.
Yes, that makes sense. And looking now at the entrepreneurial side, or what is typically human, why would you say, Margee, people are so afraid of the unknown and tapping into the unknown?
Yeah, so we have a natural curiosity to investigate and to explore and to look at things that are new. And at first, and this is very much to our benefit, we approach things that we don't know with caution, because we don't have any information on them yet. Something that if we haven't learned about it from our family or friends and we've never seen it before, we will, automatically have a cautious approach, and want to learn about it until we can, be assured that it's not going to hurt us. So in the unknown always lies risk. You never know what could happen. And so we in a sense over prepare, because to be caught off guard, we would be at a disadvantage. So the unknown really is, that's where all the mystery and adventure awaits.
That is so true, and also so magical, because this is like the magic blind spot. And it's said that there are a lot of things we don't know, and this is where the potential lies for new opportunities. What would you say?
Oh, I think that's perfect. A wonderful way to say it. Yeah, absolutely. That's why I always tell people, even if they say they don't like horror movies or scary material, that no matter what age you are, to always keep an adventurous mindset, to be thinking about what you don't know. And that was one of the most amazing parts of my research for my book, was being surprised at my reactions again. I think as we age, we start to think that we know how we will respond to everything. And we walk ourselves through it in our mind and think, oh, well, this is how I would feel. This is how I would act. But when we do new things and keep pushing the boundaries of personal growth, we continue to surprise ourselves. And like you said, in that unknown is potential.
So when it comes to fear, obviously there are also good fears that protect us and make sure that we survive. But then there are also other fears that block us and hinder us from living our dreams and designing the life we really would like to have, because it means we have to leave our comfort zone and the things we know. And then there's this interesting interpretation of fear, what means false evidence appearing real. What is your approach on that?
This is one of the issues I lecture about a lot, is to encourage people to actually graph all of their different fears out so that they can have a greater understanding of which fears are really hindering their life and keeping them from pursuing their goals, and which ones are healthy and are okay to kind of to have. And I think that knowing that at an intellectual level is of course important, but that people do need to try and experience it in a physical level too. That fear is not something that we can think our way through. If you're afraid of heights, it's hard to truly overcome that until you put your body in the situation. And that's what exposure therapy is. And of course, it doesn't have to be the exact situation. What my colleague and I found is that you can, in a way, practice being afraid in these environments where you are the one choosing to do it, and there's a foundation of safety and agency. That it's a way to put your body in the experience too, so that you have the intellectual knowledge, but also your body has an experience, because it's not just our mind alone.
That makes sense. So let's speak a little bit about Halloween and all the horror and scary things around there. On your website, Margee, it says that you were already interested in haunted houses when you were a kid. What is so fascinating for you about haunted houses?
I think that it was a natural next step from growing up on my mom's family's farm. Her family had a big 100-acre farm with sheep and horses. And growing up, we would always go and explore in the woods and, get into trouble and just investigate. And when there was a haunted house at a gymnasium, I think that, and I didn't do this intentionally, but I already had a framework in my mind of going into places that are kind of scary and not being sure of what you're going to encounter, but you're with friends and it's fun. So there was a lot of space for this idea of fun, scary, that, in the right context, these things are adventure and exploration. And the attraction was very age appropriate, so it wasn't too scary. So I didn't have a negative association with doing scary things. And for Halloween, I loved candy. I loved dressing up in costume. And I loved, being with friends. And so all of those things in my mind created a really strong positive association. And I just, I liked the idea of these scary exploratory places.
So you connect the haunted houses and being scared more with adventures?
I do, yeah. I do think of it that way. And, it is interesting. I never really brought the, specific awareness to it. But in my head, they are like little mini adventures and scavenger hunts.
Very interesting. So, what are some cool tips for you for Halloween? Like, do you have a movie tip or anything else people could do to freak other people out or just to have a scary night today?
Yeah, I highly recommend doing something with friends, gathering all of your friends together and, doing something like watching a scary movie and having lots of good food and chocolate around. But also for people to try and, recruit a friend to create mini scary experiences for each other. There's a lot of fun and fulfillment in the creation process itself. In addition to actually being the person who gets scared. But if you haven't, and I do recommend talking to a friend before doing this. I know some people enjoy the spontaneous random pranks, but I find that those can really be hit or miss. I'm all about people knowing they're about to get scared, but just not quite sure how. But I think if friends, if more and more people are having holiday or Halloween parties, to make it more interesting, try doing your own little mini haunted house and introducing elements of startle and story. And it's a lot of fun. I think we forget some of that imaginative play as we get older, but even for people who work in very technical fields, it's so nice to get into the more creative mind space and just think in different ways.
That is a very good tip. And on your website, there's an interesting video that is on YouTube, and it's about manufacturing fear. So do you have a few tips on how to manufacture fear?
Oh, yes. Yeah. So it's all about engaging the senses and trying to disorient people in lots of different ways. For example, for big haunted attractions that have a big budget, it's including different startling elements. So going from, say, an air cannon, but then having an actor that charges at your face with, say, a glove that looks like a bunch of very sharp knives, but that are actually plastic or rubber. But anything that is coming at our face quickly, we can't focus on super fast, and it's very startling. We'll have an immediate reaction to that. And then playing with the lighting, strobe lights are effective, but not just the intense strobe, but even just a blinking light every couple of seconds. And then the audio, really thinking about the audio design so that it's specific to the context and changes. So, some attractions will have just loud music all the way through, but that's not really the best practice, because going back to playing with that range of intensity, we really only care about how loud something is if we've had a period of quiet. And horror movies do this really well. Well, the good ones do. You notice the soundtrack because there have been moments of silence, or a soundtrack that you may not. Or for example, the original Halloween. There's the soundtrack of the birds and the dogs barking and leaves rustling, things that we may not think of as being part of a scare design, but actually are, because those are putting us at ease and giving us a sense of comfort, so that when you take them away, all that you notice their absence. You didn't notice their presence, but now you notice their absence. So those are some tips. And then, if you can play with people's sense of balance, that's always a lot of fun too. Either by changing the angles of the room with different types of paint and set design, or even getting a pair of mirror glasses that make people think they're walking, on the that they're lying down when they should be upright.
Very cool. I think there were a lot of really exciting tips you gave, and I think it's really cool to enjoy this Halloween. And I know a lot of my listeners are working really hard hours and accomplishing a lot during the week. So this is a night to maybe just have fun, be excited, be scared, and be prepared for new adventures. So Margee, you are a sociologist and also an author. You mentioned your book already. So can you share with us some insights? What can we find in your book with the title Scream?
Sure. So I went to Japan, South America, and all over the US and Canada, doing lots of different types of scary things, but all things that are, that we choose to do. So I did go skydiving, and I did the CN Tower, the edge walk, where you walk outside around the tower, which is 117 stories high. And I went to lots of different amusement parks and rode some incredible thrill rides, and many different haunted houses, and then places that are known for being scary, whether they're haunted or just have some kind of folklore behind them that makes them, sites that are particularly scary. So I went to all these places and then tied it back to research, both historical research and culturally specific research about how fear is expressed or experienced differently in different cultures. And then just the history of spaces and why some places are more scary than others.
That sounds really interesting, what you have there inside the book. So who is this book for?
It's for anyone that wants to know why they like the things they do, or anyone trying to push themselves further, who feel maybe tired of being restricted by their fears or afraid to do things. It definitely will help people understand how to challenge their fears in a safe and fun way, and really to learn, how they can practice being afraid, and that's contributes to a growing sense of confidence and resilience. I think that there's just so much in life that we have yet to explore, and it really is just a call to explore and to adventure.
Very nice. So after your, let's say, horror traveling you did there, or your travel with focus on being scared, would you say that dealing with our fears and when we are afraid, but we do it anyway, that there's really potential to grow as a person?
Yes, absolutely. Especially as we get older and our bodies start changing, we need those moments to remind ourselves that we are, strong, and we can always be growing and learning about ourselves, and that we don't have to be limited by all of our fears. I really just encourage people to have that kind of self-knowledge and awareness, because our fear, or rather the things that threaten us today, are very different than what threatened us for most of human existence. We're less afraid of a charging bear, but more afraid of things like environmental change, climate change, and chronic illness, and these kinds of threats are really hard for a lot of people to handle, to deal with, because they are long term. And by doing explorative, adventurous, scary things, I hope it can help people build a confidence in their own ability to handle the everyday stresses, and to feel a sense of empowerment in confronting those long-term fears. So that's really my hope for a lot of people.
That makes a lot of sense. And it's also said that there are the biggest rewards on the other side of your fear. Would you agree?
Yeah, the more invested we are in something, which we have to be pretty invested if we're going to do something that scares us, the greater then the accomplishment, the sense of achievement on the other side. So absolutely.
Very good. So, Margee, where can the listeners find your book?
They can find it on Amazon. It's published through Public Affairs Press and should be available wherever books are sold. Yeah.
Very good. So we got that covered. And you also love to teach, and you're teaching at university at the moment. Can you share a few experiences with us here?
Sure. So right now I am teaching a medical sociology class, which is what my background really is focused in, is this intersection of health and society and health and illness in the individual. And so I enjoy showing students how to think about even something like biological disease from a cultural lens, and to think about how we construct ideas of what it means to be healthy or sick, and relate that to then what we find scary, because often throughout history, it's been the things that we don't understand that we've labeled as sickness and then also feared. So that's a class I really enjoy. And then I teach introduction to sociology, and it's always an enjoying experience, because seeing students learn things for the first time, it's like I'm learning for the first time too. So it keeps me engaged and up to the times of what's out there now. So
I see. So interesting field. Margee, can you share with the listeners, in case someone got really interested in your work, what you're doing there with research, teaching, your blog, and just someone who wants to learn more about fear and your work in general, where can we send them?
Everybody can visit my website. It's margeekerr.com, MargeeKerr.com, and across all social media is just at Margee Kerr. So pretty easy to find, and happy to answer questions too. I have my email address on my website that if you have a question, you can shoot me an email.
Amazing. So I will put all that in the show notes below this episode, so the listeners can find it directly, as well as the link to get your book Scream. So to close this Halloween special episode, Margee, do you have a really good horror film tip for us?
Oh, horror film tip. I encourage people to think of the first scary movie they remember seeing, and have a night with your friends, and you all do kind of a horror movie roulette, watching even maybe just half-hour clips from your favorite horror movies. You'll get a nice scare, but also a sense of nostalgia and some laughs at whatever the fashions were at the time where you first saw it.
Very good. So that was really nice. And thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom on scary things and fear. I think that was really some interesting insights you shared here with us today. Thank you so much for being on the show, and I would love to stay in contact.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, and happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. Ladies and gentlemen, I really hope you enjoyed this Halloween special at Pure Mind Magic with my special guests, first Scott Bradley and now Margee Kerr, about fears and scary things. Maybe you feel motivated and inspired now to get ready to start your own show, maybe in the field of horror or something else that really fascinates you about a TV series, films, or whatever your passion is. And when you want to find out if you are ready to become a podcaster yourself, you can check out my book, How Podcasting Can Change Your Life, Unleash Endless possibilities to get an extra dose of motivation and inspiration all about podcasting and to find out all the huge opportunities that are waiting when you open the magic door of podcasting. So the book is quite entertaining, but also has a lot of information, contacts, and direct links to resources that help you get started right away. So check it out. There will be a link in the show notes as well. It's available internationally on Amazon as ebook for Kindle or as hard copy, whatever you prefer. And probably you are now curious who will be my next guest this Friday. And I found someone who was really not easy to get on the show because he's very busy traveling the world and speaking, helping people all around the world. But finally, I got him after writing back and forth with his assistant. And now I have Tommy Breedlove on the show. So he's an amazing coach when it comes to balance, money, freedom. He tells you everything about the power of choices. He's the founder of Choose Goodness and just an amazing gentleman. So you won't miss this very special interview because you will hear that he has this astonishing energy that comes across when he speaks. So tune in this Friday for Interview Friday and my conversation with Tommy Breedlove. That's all for today. Enjoy your Halloween night. I hope you watch some great horror movies with your friends and family. And I'm really happy when you share your experiences. Just leave a short comment below this episode. That would help so much to get the show more popular. So enjoy your time and until Friday, create some